Well, welcome to the INO podcast. My name is Jazmyne, and I will be your host for the foreseeable future. We have a more somber show for you guys today. We are going to be talking about a more serious topic. What does life look like in a post-Roe v. Wade American society situation that we got going on? I want to try to tackle this from a spiritual Christian perspective, obviously, and just kind of dive into what I hope Christians will do after this. You'll have to forgive me, guys. It's been a while since I've recorded. I know I said I'd be on a break until October, but I really felt a prompting to go ahead and get back on and at least talk about this subject. But first, I want to give shout outs to, can you believe that we have grown in the time that I've been away, that we have grown to over 1,000 listeners, which is amazing. I cannot believe you guys want to listen to this random girl from South Carolina. Shout out to Brazil. You guys are some of my top listeners. I'm gonna have to visit y'all because y'all listen to me almost as loyally as people in my own country. So shout out to you guys. I see that you guys are having a huge revival in Brazil. I am so excited for you guys, so excited to see the voices that come out of Brazil and hear all of what God is doing down there. I know certain preachers and pastors are out there just really, doing the Lord's work. You guys are awesome. Shout out to Ireland, the Netherlands, which is crazy. Shout out to China. You guys are my third highest watched country, which is also insane. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Shout out to Japan, Malaysia. So many different nations. So a few shout outs to America. Shout out to San Jose, California, which is awesome. Ashburn, North Augusta. How are you doing? I have a feeling I know who that is. Shout out to Huntersville, North Augusta, Monroe, Boiling Springs. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, and final shout out country-wise, Belgium. You guys actually might be my second highest, with Brazil like right behind you guys. So that's super awesome. So glad you guys are listening. So let's go ahead and dive into this topic. So I titled this episode "The Heart of the Matter." And I was praying for this episode because I'm like, God, this is a serious topic, And I feel like you were telling me to discuss it. And to be honest, I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get through it. And that's honestly where my heart was. And so I asked God, I was like, what should I talk about? And he's like, it's the heart of the matter. It's the heart of the matter. And what I believe he meant by that is that it's the hearts that have to change. It's the hearts that have to change. So many things happened right after Roe v. Wade. You had people cheering, people crying, people booing, just a range of emotions. To be frank, I saw a lot of spiritual immaturity on the Christian side, almost like a we got you, we won type of attitude. And I'm like, that's not God's heart of the matter, because what good is legislation to change if, we act like terrible people after it? I think it's important to note that a lot of people are still in the Roe v. Wade era. Roe v. Wade basically said that abortion is not a constitutional right to be mandated federally. So instead, the issue is being delegated per state, which is fine. So every state is going to delegate according to what that state believes. I think after the fact that it happened, it was shock for me. Like, I felt shock. I did not expect it to happen. I knew that there were rumors earlier in the year that they were going to vote on it, but I just didn't believe they were actually going to vote and overturn it. So I was honestly in shock for a few hours. And when I first got the news, I didn't believe it. I was like, oh, fake stuff is rolling around, whatever. Um, Fast forward a few hours and I found out that it was true, and just the wave of emotion, you can almost feel it. You can almost feel it in the air. Just the sorrow some people were feeling and the triumph that others were feeling. It was the weirdest atmosphere ever, is the best way I can describe it. It was the weirdest thing. And, I determined once it happened, once I knew that it actually happened, to not be on social media, because I knew both sides of people were going to make me angry, whatever the side was. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this podcast, this episode right now is not to order what is right biblically and what is wrong biblically. I am sure that if you are at all interested in this topic, you already have a solid opinion. You've already heard the opposite side. And so this is not what this podcast episode is about. So if you tuned in to hear me say this side is wrong and biblically, but that's not what this episode is going to be about. It's just going to be about what Christians should do moving forward. First and foremost, don't be a jerk. And I feel like Christians need to hear that sometimes. A lot of times, let me just be honest. Obviously the Christian faith does not allow abortion. I agree with that. However, going on social media and just being childish and immature that quote unquote your side won, I just feel like was tone deaf and not the right thing to do, because what does that do to help those that disagree with us? What does that do for the single mom who is still pregnant and is still trying to decide whether or not she should keep the baby? What is saying, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. Like that doesn't help the situation. It only makes the church look foolish. It only makes us look childish and immature. It doesn't help. And so I was shocked at the people that I saw saying that, pastors, leaders, people that I saw that were so quick to respond. And you guys remember this on my last podcast or the one before that, something like that, where I said this podcast is not going to be fast news. It's just not. I remember when Russia first invaded Ukraine, and I got so many messages of people saying, when are you going to talk about this? When are you going to talk about this? And I did not feel a release to. I don't think people should be so quick to react. I think you should take a beat, feel things out, and decide whether this is something God wants you to respond to, or whether this is something that, this doesn't really concern you. You don't need to post it on social media. Whatever the case is. But I digress. There's this prophet from Ireland. Her name is Emma Stark. And whether you agree with her or not, she said something that kind of made me think for several months after. This was way before the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I just want to put that out there. But one thing that she said, and she's from Ireland. I don't know if I've already said that, but she's from Ireland. So I like hearing how other countries view America because it gives us a different perspective. But she's from Ireland. And one thing that she said about America is that, and I'm paraphrasing, this is not a direct quote, America is so obsessed with legislation. And she goes on to say, what good is it to see something overturned if the heart of the people never change? And I never realized how much I was so obsessed with legislation and how much America was so obsessed with legislation until she said it. I didn't know that was wrong. And I hear my heart, it's not wrong. God is heavily involved with politics. You can read all of the Old Testament and see he is heavily, heavily involved in politics. God says he sets up kings and he removeth kings. It's not that he's not involved. On the contrary, he's very involved. However, I just believe legislation is secondary to the hearts and the minds of the people in the society as opposed to legislation first. I think rather than focus so much on legislation like the American society does, we should focus more on being evangelical and helping who's to the left and who's to the right of us. And I think that will ultimately bring out better legislation, because a good thing about our country is that it's a democracy. So if the hearts and minds of people are changed, then that will reflect onto our legislation. If abortion is illegal, cool. But what about the single mother who is still struggling, still doesn't know how she's going to provide for her child? That is more important. And I believe that is the heart of the matter. That mother who is scared and frightened and doesn't have the resources to be a good mother. And I think in the direct aftermath of that, Christians kind of lost sight of the mother and was just like, oh, this is a win for us. Yet, we got to start thinking before we reacting. And that is why it took so long for this podcast to go out. Because I didn't want to jump the gun and react in whatever emotion I was feeling. Quite frankly, I couldn't, because I was so shocked. But I didn't want to react. And so let this podcast be a reminder, maybe not to react, but to respond. I want to talk about expanding the kingdom of heaven. And sometimes when people hear that, they think nationalism or Christian nationalism and, shoving the Bible down people's throats. And that's not what I'm saying at all. What I mean is that I hope going forward, as we expand kingdom territory, what I mean is that we go and we love people in dark places, in dark situations. Rather than beating people over the head with the Bible, we love them and we do what a church is supposed to do, and we provide for people in dark places. Let me tell you, the enemy does not want us to love people. He wants us to be religious zealots who beat people over the head with the Bible, because even he knows that is not enough to save a soul. Love is what saves souls. The love of God, the grace of God, the mercy of God is what saves souls, not beating them over the head with the Bible. So in a post Roe v. Wade era, what am I hoping to see? I am hoping that the church will love young women in dark situations, will provide for them. That means, we're not comfortable. Sometimes providing for people is not comfortable, whether it's financially, whether it's taking them in, whatever the case, whether it's fostering, whether it's adopting. Maybe those are things that you have never thought about, and God is calling you to that because of all of that is going on. Sometimes that means being obedient to God, being uncomfortable, and loving people out of dark situations, whether that's the child or the mother or both. Going into pro-life clinics, going into, donating to pro-life clinics, whatever the case is, helping single mothers. There's a lot of single mothers who have chosen to keep their baby, and they still don't get the help they need. So maybe that is donating money, making a monthly donation to this woman and say, hey, diapers are on me. As long as the baby needs them, diapers on me. You don't have to worry about diapers, or formulas on me, or whatever the case is. There's multiple organizations where you can sponsor a young lady. There's multiple organizations where you can make a one-time donation. Maybe you just buy baby formula in bulk. Maybe you just buy diapers in bulk. Maybe you buy baby socks or baby clothes in bulk and just make a one-time donation. Whatever the case is, ask God how you fit into this puzzle, and then do that thing. It's that simple. So with that out of the way, I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about the future. I have episodes under my belt that I will be recording for you guys. I'm super pumped. We're going to be talking about friendships and dating relationships and things going on in the world and all types of stuff happening all around the world. So I'm really excited about what this next season has in store for us. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. And until next time, stay saved out there, because things are getting crazy. Peace.